Welcome back. Well, after the last episode, learning about brood mothers and whatnot, now I'm curious about the joining because, I was speculating if...
Forgive us, my king. Once we flushed the Darkspawn from their holes and bought ourselves some time, we'll be back to see you to the Maker.
Alrighty then. That was very nice, Alistair. So I was wondering whether or not my tune is actually infertile, or if she could turn into a brood mother, but I don't think that she can because the ritual of the joining is different than what the brood mothers go through. So I'm curious about the joining, that particular ritual. So let's find out about that. To become part of the Grey Wardens, a recruit must first go through a ritual called the joining. One of the reasons for the small number of Grey Wardens is that few can survive this ritual. Only those who have a decent chance of surviving the joining will even be made recruits. The ritual and the details about it are kept a strict secret by the Grey Wardens because during the joining, the recruits drink from a goblet containing a mixture of Darkspawn blood, lyrium, and a drop of blood from an archdemon. Few survive this, but those who live become Grey Wardens, forever connected to the Darkspawn and forever tainted by the blood they have consumed. Becoming a Grey Warden requires a dose of the Darkspawn corruption in sufficient potency to have an immediate effect, rather than slowly corrupt the consumer into a ghoul. While archdemon blood is typically used, blood of other Darkspawn creatures can also be magically treated to make it function in the ritual. However, the average Darkspawn doesn't have enough of the corruption within it for this to work. Now, I can't remember in the beginning, did we kill an archdemon? We had the power to, kill an archdemon. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look. Okay, anyway, the joining ritual grants Grey Wardens several abilities. Their link to the Darkspawn's hive mind allows them to detect the presence of Darkspawn, and they become immune to further corruption by the blight. However, they also suffer from bad, if occasionally prophetic, dreams, ravenous hunger, and shortened lifespans. Most wardens have only 30 years at most after their joining before the taint consumes them. Okay. Then it says also, while they can sense Darkspawn, Darkspawn can also sense them. As much of a boon as this dark gift is for the Wardens, it has also allowed them to be hunted by the Darkspawn on occasion. Okay, the reason why I went on the 30 years is, remember we were going through Honora getting to be on 30 years old and couldn't conceive? So exactly how old do these people live? Like Logain, if he was turned into a Grey Warden, he's like in his 40s, so he would live into his 70s. So they still live. So actually it makes sense to be turned later in life than earlier in life. But okay. Anyway, it was stated that the Darkspawn taint conferred by the joining contains incredible powers, with the ability to sense Darkspawn as the least of such. It's speculated that applications of energy in blood could unlock these powers and endeavor to replicate the effects alchemically, leading to the power of blood talent tree. Now, there's a section called the calling, because that was the other thing that I was sort of curious about. Just as they keep many secrets from outsiders, including the joining, Grey Wardens also keep certain secrets hidden from many of their own members. As revealed in Dragon Age The Calling, it is heavily implied that the calling has a ritual created by the first Grey Wardens to prevent future members from watching themselves ultimately succumb to the Darkspawn taint. Contrary to belief, even amongst themselves, surviving the joining does not confer to Grey Wardens a true immunity from blight sickness. but rather merely delays its onset. So wait a minute. When they talk about receiving the calling, they don't just die. They turn into Darkspawn? Holy crap. I thought they just died. Huh. Okay. Now that poses...
Let's do this.
Would I have made that choice if I knew I'd turn into a Darkspawn at the end? I don't know if I would have. The calling begins with nightmares or voices from the old gods, the same call the Darkspawn hear to search for the old gods. Although Alistar claims it takes a person about 30 years after their joining to hear it, the gap varies depending on their willpower and the level of their interaction with the Darkspawn. As such, Grey Wardens during a blight are likely to have shorter lifespans. Otherwise, it is commonly between 10 to 30 years that the Wardens hear the calling. Now that's a huge difference. 10 to 30? According to the ritual, the Grey Warden descends underground and celebrate before entering the deep roads to slay as many Darkspawn as they can before becoming overwhelmed and slain. The secret of the calling is implied when Alistar reveals that the taint will kill the Grey Wardens, although this is not true. It is unknown whether the truth was kept from all the Grey Wardens, or just its junior members as Alistar, or perhaps not at all. It is quite possible that the senior Warden simply did not get a chance to reveal the truth of the calling to the Warden before the Battle of Ostagar. But it is likely that only the first Grey Wardens, with the exception of the characters in the calling, knew the true nature of the calling. Riordan, I don't know if I said that right, implied that even if a Grey Warden would run away, given time, all Wardens would find themselves in the deep roads, Blightlands, or pursued by Darkspawn, for they are all connected by the taint that draws them to each other. You'd seek them out, or they'd seek you out. Thus, one can assume that almost every Grey Warden will die at the hands of Darkspawn. Okay, so let me get this straight. Grey Wardens get the taint to be able to protect them from Darkspawn while they kill them, but this does not make them immune to becoming a Darkspawn. It just simply delays the effects for 10 to 30 years, in which they will get a calling to join the Horde, and then they will go into, like the area where there's lots of Darkspawn, kill as many as they can before the Darkspawn kill them. Now, here's what I don't understand. If they eventually turn into Darkspawn, as we're seeing here, Darkspawn aren't trying to kill each other, they're trying to kill us. So if the taint eventually turns them into Darkspawn, then why is it when their body finally gives in, they just don't become part of the Horde? I don't understand that. I mean, I don't understand why. That doesn't make any sense to me. It would seem like if they eventually give in and they go and try to... I can understand them trying to kill up as many as they can. Like, their last hoorah. And I can even understand the Darkspawn trying to protect themselves in trying to kill the Grey Warden. But what I don't understand... Well, I guess what happens is that before the taint can fully take over, instead of turning into a before turning into a Darkspawn, they prefer to die at the hands of a Darkspawn. And then this is what doesn't make any sense. Okay, when you start hearing the calling, Why not just kill yourself? Why go to all of that where you feel like you have to go to the, you know, you have to go into the deep roads and all of that? Why don't you just kill yourself? I mean, because technically, didn't Duncan do that? He put himself amongst a whole bunch of Darkspawn because he was starting to hear the calling, and then he ended up dying at the hands of the Darkspawn. So technically, wouldn't Duncan's last hoorah trying to save everything really be a suicide mission? Because he knew that he would end up dying at the hands of the Darkspawn? I mean, if he could feel and hear the Darkspawn, wouldn't he have known that the numbers were way too... And he wasn't exactly, you know, enthusiastic or even secure in the fact that they were going to win. I swear, the more I end up learning about these things, the more questions I end up having. Because now it's like, if I got very caught up in my first playthrough with Alistar and the Warden getting married and having a life together, and they have this conversation about not being able to have kids, blah 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 blah, and that they have 30 years. But the truth of the matter is that now that they've been fighting the Darkspawn, they really might not have 30 years. They might only have 10. It depends on the interaction, because the Warden said that she could hear the voices and whatnot.
It is enough.
Yeah, this is very confusing. Well, it's not actually confusing. Confusing is the wrong word. It's that what seems to have happened is that the original game was made, and then somewhere along the way, when they made the DLC, they decided to change